Boomer parenting was not warm. It was not emotionally intelligent. By modern psychology standards, it would be considered neglectful in ways that would make therapists uncomfortable. And yet, the generation it produced, millennials and older Gen X, consistently demonstrate some of the highest resilience scores ever measured. That is not a coincidence. There are 5 specific psychological reasons why, and they are far more complex than simply hard times make strong people. The 4th one will change your perspective completely.
Reason 1. They forced independent problem solving. Boomer parents did not solve their children's problems. They expected them to. Fall off the bike? Get up. Struggle in school? Figure it out. Fight with a friend? Handle it. At the time, it felt like abandonment. Psychologically, it was accidental mastery training. Every time a child solves a problem without adult intervention, the brain releases dopamine and builds what neuroscientists call self-efficacy, the deep-rooted belief that one is capable of handling what comes at them. Research from Stanford consistently shows that self-efficacy is the single strongest predictor of adult resilience. Boomer parents built it, not through intention, but through absence.
Reason 2. Emotional suppression built an unusual tolerance for discomfort. Boomer households had one unspoken rule. Nobody falls apart. Nobody makes it dramatic. Push through and keep moving. As a child, that felt cold and dismissive. As an adult, it created something unexpected. A higher than average tolerance for sitting inside discomfort without immediately collapsing. Psychologists call this distress tolerance, and it is one of the most critical psychological skills a human being can possess. Modern research shows that people with high distress tolerance recover from failure faster, sustain effort longer, and experience less anxiety overall. It was not taught with kindness, but it was taught effectively.
Reason 3. They created children who read rooms. When a parent's emotional state was unpredictable, children learned to scan. Walking into a room meant instantly assessing the atmosphere, tense or relaxed, approachable or dangerous, safe or careful. An entire generation developed a form of emotional radar that most people never build because they never needed it. Psychologists call this hypervigilant social attunement, and while its origins are stressful, its applications are extraordinary. Adults who grew up reading Boomer parents consistently demonstrate higher empathy scores, stronger interpersonal awareness, and significantly better ability to navigate complex social environments. An entire generation learned to read people because survival quietly depended on it.
Reason 4. Absence created an unusually strong inner world. When emotional connection was not available externally, children went internal. They read more, imagined more, processed alone more, built rich internal frameworks for understanding the world around them because the adults in their lives were not providing those frameworks. Developmental psychologists identify this pattern as compensatory internal development, and its long-term effects are significant. Adults who developed strong inner worlds in childhood consistently show higher creativity, stronger self-awareness, and more sophisticated emotional processing capacity than those who had everything externally provided. The loneliness that felt like abandonment was quietly building the most important psychological infrastructure an entire generation would ever have. Reason 5. They modeled survival without knowing it. Here is the deepest layer. Boomer parents were themselves deeply wounded people, raised by the silent generation, shaped by scarcity, war legacy, and a culture that treated vulnerability as weakness. They did not withhold emotion because they did not love their children. They withheld it because they genuinely did not know it was available. And in watching them carry enormous weight without breaking, work without complaint, survive without acknowledgement, their children absorbed something profound. Not the specific coping mechanism, but the underlying message that humans can carry more than they think.
that pain does not have to mean collapse, that life continues regardless. That lesson, learned by watching rather than being told, is one of the most durable psychological inheritances one generation can pass to another.
Boomer parents were not perfect parents. They missed things that mattered. They left gaps that still hurt entire generations. And none of what this video said makes that pain invalid or small. But somewhere inside the emotional absence, something real was built. A generation that handles hard things, that reads rooms others miss, that carries weight without collapsing, that figures things out when no one shows up to help. That generation did not get the childhood it deserved, but it built something with what it got that most people with easier childhoods never develop. That is not poetic. That is psychology, and it belongs to that generation completely.